All right, so we are on day 66 of me going through my old journal entries. And so on this day, the quote was, "Exploration is wired into our brains. If we can see the horizon, we want to know what's beyond." And then the question says, what inspires exploration in you? Are you more into physical or mental exploration, and why? So if you're following along, just take a few minutes to think about what your response to this is. Off the top, I'm thinking mine's definitely mental, but let me see what I wrote. All right, so what inspires exploration? I said when I was younger. See, I put here when I was younger, I was definitely more into physical exploration. But I think I was also into mental exploration. I just didn't realize how much I was doing that and how much more it seems to be that I was doing that than other people. But anyway, yeah, I was definitely, if you're looking just at differences in physical, being into physical exploration, I was definitely more about it when I was younger. I was one of those people who would say I loved to travel, and I thought I did. I did. Even though I was introverted, I loved being in the airport. I remember that. I remember for years just loved the feeling of being in the airport. I thought the airport was just so exciting. Yeah, I love being in the airport and just observing different types of people and experiencing the feel of different places. I didn't even mind traveling alone, or at least the getting there part. For me, visiting places is always better with someone else, I think, because it gives me more comfort and confidence to get out and explore. Getting lost or being in a weird situation always feels better when you're not alone. Actually, I take that back. Sometimes it depends on who you're with. If you're with someone who's doesn't get freaked out about stuff, there's a word for that, but somebody who's can roll with things when things don't go their way, it's fine. But if you're with someone who gets stressed out, if things don't go right, that's terrible to be in that situation with them. In those cases, I would rather just be alone and try to figure things out than have to deal with somebody who's getting really worked up and stressed about it. Let's see. In recent years, my feelings have changed. I want to stay home a lot more. I don't really have a lot of interest in going out. I used to go out to the club. Whenever I was 19, I was living. So I don't think we had any clubs where you could get into over 18 when I was young here, but in Florida, there was a lot of over 18 clubs. And so I didn't drink, but I did like to go just experience it. I would go and have some of my roommates, my girlfriends, just go out and dance and just had fun, and I just had a blast. There was just so much to take in, and yeah, I used to love it. But as I've gotten older, I don't care anything about going out anymore. I said even shopping or to get food. When I do get food, I always prefer the drive-through because I can stay in the comfort zone of my car. So, yeah, I've gotten definitely more introverted and not wanting to physically explore things over the past few years, for sure. The past few years, the bulk of my exploration has been mental. A part of me misses the naive version of myself who would explore and meet people without thinking too deeply about my interactions. It also seems like I'm better at feeling other people's emotions. Yeah, I'll talk about that in a minute. And I said a lot of people don't seem happy these days, and I hate being able to feel that. And that is something, and I think maybe that's the reason I don't want to be out around people anymore, is I don't know if it's always been this way. I know there has been some cases in the past when I was younger where I felt like a weird vibe from people and I wasn't picking it up like I do now. Um, but yeah, like I feel like whenever I'm around people, I can just sense these things about them that I don't feel like I used to be able to sense. And I don't know if it's that more people are just like sad or depressed, or if I'm picking up on it more now. But it makes me feel bad to be around people that are like, that I can sense that are feeling bad. And so I've just kind of like opted out of that. Like, yeah, like I can sense people's like sadness or people's anxiety, um, or happiness too. But it seemed like there was a lot of people I was around that I was just getting these really weird senses about, and I didn't I didn't like it. I didn't like feeling that. I don't know. Like I've I'm glad that I've like researched stuff after I've actively noticed them, because I really don't want to have like what I'm learning about influence my views, if that makes sense. For instance, with the ADHD thing, I'm glad that I can look at this in retrospect and see like, okay, all of these things that I've done were likely due to ADHD, but I'm kind of glad I wasn't like labeled ADHD as a kid and then been like putting all of these things as ADHD. Like, I like that I can like look back retroactively and see, or I don't know, maybe if I was labeled, I could have, it could have helped me. But same thing with this, like, after I've already realized, like, consciously realized, like, man, I am sensing some weird stuff on these people, and it's like giving me anxiety and kind of bringing me down. And I don't think they even sense it in themselves. But then later I came across some videos about people like being empaths and being able to, kind of sense other people's feelings. And so I guess that takes, I don't know, like, I guess does that take me out of like the possibility of being on the autism spectrum? Because I've just recently gotten into coming across content on autism, so I don't know that much about it. I just started following like a Reddit thread on it, so I'm just kind of like reading people's posts and seeing what they're saying about it and seeing if I relate to any of it. And like I said, ADHD, yeah, relate to a bunch of that, but the autism stuff, it's like maybe hit or miss, and I don't really think I fit in that much with the autism. But I wonder, is that like, does empath go along with that, or is it like the opposite of that? I don't know. But yeah, I definitely feel like a connection to people that say they're empaths. And it's gonna sound like, this sounds weird because I am analytical, and I don't necessarily want to believe. I know that I don't want to believe in all the spiritual stuff, like the spiritual and the astrology and all that stuff. But there are some things that some of those people talk about that, like I said, like looking in retrospect, like not me hearing about these things and then trying to make the world fall into that place but it's where I'm hearing about these things and I'm looking back and I'm like, that seems kind of accurate, actually. And so that's kind of how the empath thing seems to me. There was something else I was just thinking of with that, but I can't think of it. But yeah, right now I'm definitely into, so like whenever COVID happened, I obviously, like, it's normal to feel like anxiety over, something like that happening. And so at first I thought that was just that was what it was, you know, like this big scary thing is happening and I'm just feeling like anxiety and stress over that. And then it's like the George Floyd thing happened, and then just like at that time, like the only social media I was really on was Instagram. And normally Instagram had been kind of like a sanctuary, like away from Facebook, and I've never really been on Twitter. Because Facebook had just gotten too like divisive, and I'd never really been that active on Facebook. But I liked Instagram because it was like you could just kind of post your stuff, and for the most part everybody, you know, you could have your little niche and like have your followers, and it was mostly like positive, I felt like, on there. But then like around COVID, it started to get a little bit more divisive and people being kind of hateful. And then with George Floyd, like, and the Black Lives Matter protests and all that stuff, it started getting like, just, I felt like crazy, and so much hate and so much like division. And I know I was seeing some of this stuff on Instagram, but I just got so overwhelmed by everything. And it's like I wasn't even, you know, protesting or anything like that, but it just, everything was just like so overwhelming, and I was trying to make sense of everything that was happening in the world. And I know like I was watching some of this, so that was causing some of the anxiety, but it was weird because it was almost like I felt all of the like energy of all of this stuff that was happening. I know this sounds weird, but it was like I felt all of this energy even without like being actively involved with it. And it just like just had, I'm calling it anxiety because I just don't know what else to call it, but it was just this feeling, just this overwhelming feeling of like all of this energy coming at me. And I ended up, I got off social media for like months after that. Like I wasn't on Instagram. I don't even know what I did. Like I don't even know what I was doing with my time during that time. But I just, I couldn't handle all of that. But even like not being on social media, I was still like feeling all of this, you know, energy or whatever for like months. And I don't know. I feel like, I don't know, like if there is some truth to like people being empaths and, you know, feeling other people's energies and like feeling the energy of the collective, then I feel like maybe I have that, if that is a thing. Um, but I don't know. Like I said, I'm analytical, so I find it kind of like hard to believe. But at the same time, like energy is such a weird thing. Like whenever you learn about it, like our wars are literally about energy. It's about fuel, and everything runs off of energy. And like I said, the thing that blew my mind when I was learning about, like, when I came across a YouTube video about grounding is like you can literally go outside with your shoes on, take your shoes off and touch the ground, and the voltage, I think it's the voltage that goes through your body like changes, and you can hold like a voltmeter and see the difference. And I'm like, that's got to be doing something. You know, like I don't know exactly what, but it's got to be doing something. And then if we all can like pick up energy or electrons from the ground, you know, who's to say we're not putting off energy? But like, I don't know. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting a little bit out there, but my brain is getting into that mode again, which is kind of exciting because I love to get into like new things and like start like researching it. And so I've been watching some videos kind of about that and just trying to decide whether or not it's just all crazy stuff, or whether or not there seems to be any truth to it, or even if it's not like true or factual, if I feel like I can relate to some of it and use it in a way that benefits me, I guess. But anyway, I'm definitely in a mental state right now. But I guess I'm getting more into physical with like the bodybuilding stuff, so I don't know. Anyway, I guess I'm a little bit of both, but it just changes at different times in terms of how I like to explore. So anyway, that's what I have for day 66, and I'll be back tomorrow with day 67.